What it do? What's up, your girl G here, and we are right back at it. I'm coming to do these videos back to back. I just did Real Housewives of Atlanta, so y'all go check out that review, which should be posted by now. So now we're going to talk about Real Housewives of New York. I actually really enjoyed this episode. Definitely had some funny moments in there. And you know, some ladies are starting to get ahead of the pack for me as far as who I'm liking and versus who I'm not liking. So, hold on, you guys. Sorry, I was looking at the door, behind me. It opened. But yeah, you guys, Real Housewives of Atlanta. Real Housewives of New York, you guys. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, everybody is, waking up from, last night. They had a good old night, we're having fun, listening to music, yada, yada. And it was Aaron's room, and Jessel goes into Aaron's room, already starting the day off just, Jessel, girl, you need to go sit on somebody's couch. Like, you need to go figure out your issues and why you are she's become almost like a pessimist in a way, and a negative thinker, and a person who spots the bad before the good. And I know people like that, which is why I'm able to point it out when I see it. When people have a negative image of themselves, they can only go through life and point out the negatives out in their world views, because the truth is, how you see yourself is kind of how you'll see the world in that lens kind of as well. So she's like, is anybody up in here? It's like, yeah, I'm up in here. And she's just, oh my God, it's so cold. I can't do it in here. Like, oh my God, it's so crazy. And Uba, she comes in. She was like, girl, it's cold, but I came in here for this. And she puts her little shawl on or whatever. And so like, oh my God, can you believe that Jenna left last night? And Aaron's like, oh my God, yeah, I can't believe it. And Jessel kind of low-key says some sneaky ass, like, oh, she's like, yeah, Jenna's house, she lives over there by the water, so And Aaron's like, what are you trying to say? Like, my house isn't as good because I don't live by the beach or by the water? And Jessel's like, no, I mean, like, maybe she wanted to wake up and, see her view. And it's like, Jessel, like, there really are people who are just so wrapped up in their own mind and insecurities that they're just unaware to how they're, like, coming off to people. And like, Aaron's like, at this point, like, it's almost like a joke. Like, Jessel, like, you really don't be hearing the stuff that be coming out of your mouth. And even Uba was like, kind of like, okay. So all of a sudden, you see Sai running in, and like, she busted, y'all. She was like, I was coming in for the tea. So she gets up at her confession. She's like, I fell because why are your floors so clean, Aaron? So they get up and they're getting ready for basically to work out or whatever. And they go downstairs in the kitchen, and they're still talking about Jenna leaving. They're like, oh my God, she left. She was gonna do it without saying bye. I don't even understand that. And, Aaron's like, oh my God, she could have, like, I gave her, the best room. Just like, oh my God, she got the best room. And Sai's like, shoot, I slept in a room with a crib or whatever. Like, she could have made it. And so as they're in the kitchen, Jenna comes in, early in the morning, and with coffee. As a person, you would just like being nice, coming in with coffee. Like, I F's with it. And so when Jenna comes in, Aaron's like, oh my God, I'm getting angrier. And so they're like, oh, welcome, Miss leave the party early. She's like, I just didn't want to disturb you guys. Like, I was upstairs, and it was loud, and I had an early call, and I didn't want to disturb you guys. And Aaron's like, well, you're my guest. Like, it would have been okay. She was like, no, and so they were just looking at Aaron, like, at Jenna, like, oh my God, like, Sai's like, oh my God, grandma, like, and so it's like, yeah, I understand where Jenna was coming from. First of all, we already know she said, like, she's uncomfortable in situations like this, like having, like, the girl clique necessarily, or like being out with girlfriends. She's already stated that this is out of her comfort zone. Secondly, her house is 10 minutes down the road. So when she's like, I had a 6:30 call, and you're like, well, we went to bed at 12. Like, she want her beauty sleep. Like, I want to get a good night rest for this 6:30 call. It's a 6:30 call, but really I'm gonna wake up at like 5:45. And so to y'all, it's like she was trying to get to bed early, and then also waking up at 6:30. Y'all guys weren't gonna be up at 6:30, so she didn't want to interrupt y'all. So Aaron kind of like nipped at her a bit for that. And then she kind of walked away, and she was like, oh my God, I'm sorry, your house, you must have just been better at your house. And Jessel was like, girl, it was cold here. Jessel was not letting that heat be off go. They were tearing Aaron's house apart, and Aaron's house is actually really pretty decent. Like New Jersey, like Melissa and I think Teresa and Jennifer Aiden, they have a house in the Hamptons, but they're more like waterfront based. And I guess Aaron is more kind of like Southamptons. But Jessel was like, well, at least you didn't freeze. And when Aaron walked away, Jessel was like, oh, it's so cold in here, my glasses could fog. So she kind of like nipped at her back. And so then Aaron's like, and then we didn't cook breakfast. I didn't get to cook my Shakshuka because of you. She's like, what do you mean? Like, you're grown. Like, you can cook. And I don't like how she tried to put it off on Jenna that the reason everybody else didn't eat was because of her. Like, don't try to put that on me. Like, just because I didn't want to eat the Shakshuka before a workout doesn't mean y'all didn't have to eat. Aaron, you were just being lazy. You didn't feel like getting up and cooking. Like, cut it out. I didn't like how they tried to scapegoat Jenna for that. I didn't like that. Like she said, y'all are grown. Like, y'all don't need me to say anything to eat. Like, y'all could have ate breakfast. And so, it's time for them to work out. And so as everybody's, getting ready, putting their clothes on, Jenna goes to open the door. David, the trainer, comes in. And, but look at, the trainer was like, well, my. She had the heart eye emojis for this man. And so Aaron's like, David, this is Uba. And she's like, oh my God, like, hi. She's like, you looked like you just walked out of a Polo magazine. And so he talks, and she's like, you're African too? She's just, she fell out. She's like, I don't even work out, but I'm gonna work out today because Zaddy, Yazimid, okay? And you could tell they was right there, okay? They was looking at each other. They was feeling the vibes. She's like, oh my God. He tried to shake her hand. She's like, oh my God, I'm a hugger. And they hugged, and that hug was kind of like, you could feel the tingles between the two with that hug. And so all the girls come in or whatever, and they go out back and they start working out. So Brynn, this is when Brynn shows up. Brynn comes, and she's like, has her driver, and she's going to the door, knocks, and don't nobody answer. And so she's like, well, dang, when she walked in, first of all, everybody has, for some reason, got a problem with Aaron's house. She's like, it's not the Hamptons, but, she's like, what's the Hamptons? I know, but, this is more south, but it'll do. Like, God dang. Like, okay, like, y'all making Aaron's house sound like it's some shack like in the south side of New York or something. So she goes in, and she's like, oh my God, I don't have nobody help me with my bags. I have to carry them in myself. Like, ugh. So, they're out back, and Aaron's like, oh, Brynn's coming later. He's like, oh, yeah, I've worked out with Brynn a few times. And so they're like working out with the rubber bands, and Uba, she's working out with David, and oh my God, Uba is so uncoordinated. Just tall and lanky and uncoordinated. So Brynn walks in with this long fur coat. Sounds like this girl that walked in like a whole ass pimp. Long coat like she from Mississippi. Long pimp named Slickback fur coat. Okay? A pimp named Slickback for, the black viewers. Y'all would know, obviously, that's from the Boondocks. But for if there's any white viewers, a pimp named Slickback is a character from the Boondocks, okay? He's a pimp. So, what was I going to say? So, Brynn sees David, was like, oh my God, David, I've been sore for the last 2 years since I saw you last. And she hugs him, and Brynn doing her normal Brynn thing, like, oh my God, how have you been? Real flirty energy, and everybody's like, this is just Brynn. This is what she does. If there is a guy, Brynn is flirty. And Uba saw that, and she was like, look, cut it out. Cut it out. Don't you do it. So she grabbed David when they were kind of hugging and like pulled him towards her, like, you gonna help me work out, okay, David? Remember, okay? Remember our connection, okay? Uba was not here for it. But I feel like David definitely was into Uba. He saw a fellow African, and was like, this may do, like, this may work. Because when you in the African family, honey, you gonna bring you home somebody that's African, okay? They don't really go outside the races like that in the African. And if you do, it's gonna be because this person's gonna help you elevate in some type of way, all right? And so they start working out. Uba, she lanky, can't jump over nobody. Brynn sort of kind of works out, but she's like to the side. And the lady, who was it that said it? It wasn't Jessel. It might have been Aaron or Jenna. And they were like, oh my God, like, Brynn, she just came out the womb flirting. The doctor, she must have been flirting with the doctor when she got pulled out her mom's vajay. And that's what she is. Brynn is a flirt, okay? Is a flirt. So they all get done working out. They go into the kitchen, and Uba offers David. She was like, "Would you like some tea? Would you like some tea?" And he sat down, drank a little bit of tea, and then left. And he was like, "I appreciate the tea, ladies. Goodbye." Uba's like, "Bye." Uba was trying to put down the energy, and it was like, "Girl, Uba, you needed to like draw back just a little bit, like leave him kind of like you let somebody know you're interested, but then you kind of draw back to kind of play." Shy, coy, oh my, you let them know you're interested just a touch, just a tad bit. But I really hope Uba got his number from Aaron. That's what I do hope. So the ladies go to take a shower, and Brynn's downstairs talking to Uba, I think it was Uba, and Uba kind of fills her in on the Jenna situation. And she's like, "Yeah, girl, did you hear, what happened last night?" She was like, "No, what happened?" She was like, "Girl, Jenna left and didn't tell nobody." And it was kind of crazy, like, just like, yeah, we get your houses, down the street, but like, dang, she tried to sneak out on us. And Aaron's like, "Oh, for real?" And she's like, "What did Aaron say?" And Aaron and Jenna did talk earlier that morning, or earlier in the morning. And Jenna was like, "Look, I apologize if you took it like as an insult. Like, I just had my morning, meeting, and I didn't want to interrupt anybody." She was like, "Well, I would have turned down the music." She's like, "Well, no, I didn't want to disrupt y'all from y'all's time." And Jenna, I feel like they had a genuine conversation, and she apologized, and it put the kibosh in it. Like, there was nothing else really to be said about it. It was resolved. But Aaron kind of feels like, this is kind of a double standard, because I left, the restaurant, and Aaron about to have my head on a chopping block. Like, she ain't getting punished enough. Both Aaron and Uba were like, she ain't getting punished enough for me. I don't like that. So they're all washing up, getting ready to go to lunch, because the girls is starved. Like Sai said, Aaron ain't been feeding us this whole goddamn trip. So all the ladies, wash up, get dressed, and getting ready for the lunch. And half the girls come down in khaki, brown, beige ensemble. And Sai was looking good. Like, all the ladies were looking good. Jenna was like, "Shoot, I'm casual." She's like, "I'm in jeans and a hoodie or a sweater most of the time." And then when Aaron came out of her room, she was in jeans as well. And it's definitely like two sides to the Hamptons. Some people go to the Hamptons to relax, unwind, be casual, and then there's others who view the Hamptons as their stage. When you go to the Hamptons, you show up and you show out. And Sai's like, "Girl, even when I'm not trying, like, it look like I'm trying." Like, Sai's like, "It's just natural for me." Sai's outfit was really cute though. And so when Jenna took the picture, they all looked really good. So they go out to lunch, and they're going. They sit down. Everybody's like, "I'm starved," and they bring up the fact that ain't nobody that gets to eat no Shakshuka. And Jenna's like, "Look now, don't you try to keep putting this shit on me." So they order drinks, and they start ordering Bloody Marys. I've never had a Bloody Mary, but I just can't imagine drinking tomato juice like as good. Like, I can't picture. I don't know. Maybe I gotta try a good one, but I just can't imagine drinking tomato juice. I just couldn't. Yeah, no. So all the girls cheers or whatever, and they start talking about what got brought up first. What got brought up first? I think it was David and the flirting and Brynn and all of that. Yeah, I think that was first. So Brynn tells Uba, like, girl, this is what you gotta do to flirt. Clearly you were interested in David. She was like, you have, you take you a set of nudes, like your favorite, your best ones, and then you just ever so slightly scroll through them when you're next to a guy, and he'll peek down and see your phone, and he'll be interested. Everybody's like, what? Uba's like, that is the worst advice I've ever heard. Like, first of all, if he's peeking out at your phone and sees your nudes, like, firstly, he's a pervert. And she's like, in her confession, she's like, no wonder you got 3 engagements. Like, Brynn is a flirt, but unfortunately leads with sex. And that's only going to get you but so far, Brynn. Like, yeah, these men are going to be interested in your, your sexuality. But if that's all it's going to become, like, girl, that's why you're catching duds. Because you're leading with sex, Uba was like, I try a little bit of a different approach. Like, if I'm at the airport or something, I'll be like, excuse me, can you point me to gate D? And they're like, gate D? You trying to lead me to the D, all right? Like, take me to the D. And Brynn's like, excuse me, gate A, B, C, D? I'm more of a, like, Uba approach. Like, you got to be real subtle with it. Like, oh my God, do you mind pointing me out to, I feel like, I think I'm lost. Like, can you point me to this gate right here? Like, I'm more of that approach. Brynn's, so then they start getting into, Jenna, because Aaron's like, because when they all got up and went to the bathroom, half the women got to go to the bathroom, Jessel was still sitting down, and she was talking to Brynn, and she's like, I don't want to make it a big deal, but it's kind of a big deal, because, like, I feel some type of way about it, like, a little bit, a lot. And Jess was like, why? And she was like, well, because, like, had that been me, like, who left in the middle of the night, like, Aaron would have had my head on the chopping block. And Jessel agreed. And so when they sat down, Brynn looks at Aaron, and she's like, I kind of want to, like, say something, but I don't want to make it a big deal, but it's kind of a big deal. And she's like, what? And she's like, well, Aaron, like, I heard that Jenna left in the middle of the night, and she's like, I'm kind of feeling like that's a double standard. Like, it is, but it isn't, but, like, it is, like, a double standard. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, well, when I left the restaurant, and I didn't tell y'all, like, where I was going or whatever, like, you literally didn't speak to me for a week. And Jenna leaves overnight and goes back to her place, and you're already over it. And when Aaron hit it with well, maybe I might like her a little more than you, I think everybody was kind of stuck, because nobody's ever just, like, blatantly said to somebody, like, maybe I like her more than you. Like, nobody's ever just blatantly said that. So to me, that was entertainment. Like, I love that. It was like, of course, she was being, like, sarcastic / facetious, but also maybe a little bit of the truth, like, And so she was like, really? Like, I just really kind of feel like this is kind of different. Like, this isn't, like, fair. Like, this is not what you would have did to me. But Brynn, there's really a difference, because Jenna didn't lie, like, to somebody. Like, you straight up, like, told the girls, oh my God, I feel sick, I'm gonna go home. And then are posting on Instagram having a good ass time at another restaurant. Like, Erin wasn't mad at you for going to another restaurant. She was mad at you because your ass lied. Like, you're comparing apples to oranges in this instance. Like, you really are. And so she's like, then I'm really feeling like the reason, like, you're not getting into, like, having a real issue with her is because it's Jenna Lyons, and she can offer you something more than I can. And she's like, no, I don't think that way. Like, I really don't. Like, I hear Jenna's kind of a big deal in these streets. Obviously she used to work for J. Crew, and she's clearly built up a reputation for herself. Like, people know Miss Jenna Lyons, But Aaron's like, what did you want me to do, to fight her? Like, we talked about it. She apologized. Like, the issue was over. It's resolved. Like, what else did you want me to do? Like, and Aaron, at this point, there really is nothing left with, like, what did you want her to do? Because I get the point that you're trying to compare, but they're not really on the same field. Like, the reason Aaron got in your ass is a totally different reason than why she's upset at Jenna. Like, you just straight up lied. Like, you lied. So the girls are eating, and then they start talking about Jessel. And they were like, oh my god, like such a complainer or something like that. And so Aaron's like, girl, you hard to please. And she was like, what? She was like, girl, you do nothing but complain. No, she's like, girl, you hard to please. And she's like, oh my god, you took that as complaining? She's like, cause you were. Like, girl, Jessel, you were complaining. It's, oh my god, it's so cold. Oh my god, I can't connect to the Wi-Fi. The service out here is crappy. Even Sai had to be like, when she woke up that morning, she's like, dang, I can't be around you negative bitches. Like, gotta wake up and practice gratitude. Like, god dang. And so she was like, girl, you were complaining. Even when it came to that, Sai's like, girl, even when it came to the stuff that Jenna got you, like, girl, it was too much. And she was like, what do you mean? She was like, I mean, it was just like not flattering, you know? She was like, girl, that's not what you said. You were like, oh my god, I look like a Christmas tree. Oh my god, like it doesn't fit. I look so horrible. And Jess was like, girl, like it wasn't that bad. And it was like, everybody's like, Jessel, it was that bad. And so finally Jenna spoke up and was like, you know, I mean, if somebody bought you something and, you know, they just constantly were ragging on it, like, you don't think that would hurt your feelings? And so Jessel didn't just want to straight out apologize and be like, you know what, girl, I'm sorry. She kept trying to like step like back and forth in it, like, well, you know, I can see how you're upset, you know, so like I can see how I was wrong, but you know, I would gladly take it, you know, and exchange it for something else. Like, it's like, girl, you're just missing it. And she was like, but I did look like a Christmas tree. It's like, girl, Jessel, just say you're sorry, Heifer. Just say you sorry. My bad. But it was just like, read the room. That is a skill that a lot more people should learn. Reading the room. And the thing is, like, Jessel in her confession was like, oh my god, like, if Jenna really felt that way, like, oh, the Jenna Lyons couldn't, like, address me. And I think it's just because Jenna is a non-confrontational person. You can tell she is a non-confrontational, like, person. And so that's why I think it took the other ladies to say something for Jenna to finally, like, speak up for herself. So the ladies go back to the house and they're getting ready for dinner. And they're looking at, like, Jenna, like, girl, what is you wearing? And so Uba pulls out this beautiful black dress. And it's long sleeves because Jenna has the things about, like, the scars on her arms and stuff like that. So she puts the dress on, y'all. She looked gorgeous in it. And she walks downstairs and Brynn and Aaron are downstairs. I'm like, girl, this is it. Like, girl, dress like this more often. But Jenna feels like, she's like, you know, it just reminds me of a time like I used to try to dress, you know, to attract men. And I feel like Jenna uses like dressing more androgynous and masculine as a way to kind of like revolt the patriarchy in a way, because like she said, she's like, you know, this is how I used to dress when I was trying to attract men and, you know, appease them to what they want to see, you know, and attract according to what they like. And Jenna no longer is doing that. And I think that's kind of how she kind of views it, as like, you know, revolt against the man type situation. So they all sit down and boy, they started hammering the sushi. They were Uba was over there eating, okay? Sushi roll after sushi roll after sashimi after nigiri after all the food. So then they start playing Two Truths and a Lie. Aaron, she had sex in the senator's office. She had sex in a car and then sex in like a parking garage or something. And the truth is she had sex in the senator's office. She called her husband. It was like, did you know? And he's like, honey, you in the car on speaker? She was like, oh, like, damn. So then Jessel, hers was, she kissed a famous rapper, a well-known rapper, had a popsicle stick stuck in her hoo-ha, and something else. And she had a popsicle stick stuck in her hoo-ha. Everyone was like, wait a minute. Is this Jessel? The woman who ain't had sex in 2 years talking about she getting that popsicle stuck? Let us find out. And everyone was like, I don't know whether to be disgusted or kind of low-key intrigued and turned on. And then when I thought about it, I low-key was kind of like, well, I'm a little intrigued. Like, I'm just picturing it, the popsicle, and then tasting it, and then like, then the things making it taste like a certain thing. Like, I was a little like intrigued and turned on because like, I got where it was going, you know? When sometimes when people tell you kinky stuff, you just be so confused because you don't understand like the end game of it, end game of it all, but I can understand the end game of this all, you know. And Uber started googling, was like, oh my god, like the doctors say like stuff to not to do, like trying to cool down. I guess people was doing it trying to cool down, but it's like I don't think that's the way you want to go about it. But yeah, so not Aaron, Sai, what did Sai say? Damn, I forgot what Sai said, what Sai's 2 truths and a lies were. I can't think about it right now. Brynn, she reverse cowgirl, a football player, a shaman, and a priest or something like that, and a well-known like Abu Dhabi or something like that. And everyone's like, well, damn, she love reverse cowgirl, and somebody was like, cause she don't like looking at her victims. And so for her, the lie was reverse cowgirl and a shaman or something like that. I can't really think of everybody's 2 truths and a lie necessarily, because the only ones entertaining to me was Aaron's and Jessel's. Jenna, did Jenna do one? I don't think they showed Jenna's. I don't think they did. But Brynn was like, girl, if you really did stick a popsicle up your hoo-ha, I'll run around this bitch naked. And it was so funny because as they're doing this game, the chefs are like in the kitchen, like listening to all this. I know they was like, what in the hell type of party am I cooking for? Because this is sexual AF. So Brynn, she started getting a little frisky. She started showing the nips and stuff and everything. And so Aaron asked Jessel, she was like, was this with your husband? She was like, negative. She was like, was this like a kink thing? And she was like, She was like, I'm kind of into it. So they all go outside, and I love this moment when the ladies are outside. Basically, they just start, after they struggle getting the fire pit going, basically they just start talking about their growing up inside, and they were like, oh my god, I love the dollar store, because they were drinking wine in these kitty cups, and they got it from the dollar store. And Jenna's like, oh my god, I love the dollar store. So I was like, I know, like when you grow up shopping at the dollar store, you hate that shit. Like you really, really do. And so she starts telling the story of her history, basically like, you know, they were so broke they only had like a 2-foot Christmas tree. Her dad sat it up on the stereo and had to lean the Christmas presents up against it. And you know, when you grow up in a neighborhood where you see everybody with these big ass Christmas trees, you know, it's a little like, oh my god, you know, a little like sad. And then she was like, you know, I moved out when I was 16. Everyone's like, how did you do that? She was like, I had a job at Sears, you know, I worked, and you know, she's like, I was going to college so I couldn't afford it no more. She's like, I went to Long Island, but then I had to drop out because I couldn't afford it anymore, but I still was showing up on campus acting like I forgot my ID. And she was like, finally it just seemed like they were just letting your girl in because they knew a bitch was hungry and didn't have nowhere to stay, you know. And but she was like, you know, when I think back on it, like, you know, I just appreciate, you know, what I have. You know, it made me a daydreamer. It made me a manifester. And Brynn related because she was like, you know, me and my grandma, we used to look at this, you know, this magazine. It was like, you know, we could have this couch, you know, we could have this whole like living room set up for only 4 payments of this and that or whatever. And they related on it, just kind of be like, when you daydream, you just think of the life that you want, you know. And so I was just like, you know, I pushed for that, and it didn't make me mediocre. And Jenna's like, well, girl, where are your parents? And Jenna side basically was like, her mother couldn't afford it. You know, she literally was renting out a bedroom. So I'm just going to guess that Sai had kind of possibly irresponsible parents, or parents who were dealing with issues. And to her, it was better to be on her own and figure it out than to try to leave it up to her parents. Then the ladies going after that. That's where the episode ended. I really love this episode, you guys. Drop down in the comments. Tell me who's your favorite, who's your least favorite. What are you thinking about New York in general? Are you loving the fact that they did a whole scrap and redo? Right now, y'all, I'm really into Jenna, I'm really into Brynn, and I'm really into Sai. Those are my 3 right now. But yeah, you guys, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.